Hello. Can everybody hear me? We are live and ready to get started. For those of you who just want to send you guys some information, Jesse has volunteered to be the tech person for today. So I've just popped his email into the chat. Hello. Hey, Brenda. He's going to be taking care of tech issues. So if you have any tech issues, please go ahead and email him. He is going to take care of that if you have any problems. For those of you that cannot stay the whole time, no worries. I will be sending you guys for showing up a replay. And also for many of you, I'm going to be, or for all of you that are on the webinar today, I'm going to be sending you a special link where you can be able to get links and access to some of my best resources and links to some of the tools and products that I use to be able to allow me to work from anywhere. So thank you for joining me. I am a little bit nervous. This is like the first hangout thing I've ever hosted. And so super appreciate many of you who are joining and many of you submitted questions beforehand. And I'm very, very, very excited to share with you my experience living and working from anywhere. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, actually, let me turn my video on because that's always fun. I'm not going to keep it on the whole time, but I'm going to wave to you guys. Let's see if I can figure this out. Hello. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining me. So right now it's getting to sunset in South Africa. I know many of you, it's morning time, so thanks for joining, waking up early. Appreciate it. Much love, and I will now start sharing my screen so you can see some of the slides. Basically, it took all of your questions, grouped them into topics as you've been seeing, and I'm going to be sharing anecdotes and stories and lessons that I feel will be most valuable to everybody and that I feel like hit on the most things. Of course, I wish I could answer every single question in detail. In fact, some of you asked such great questions that I probably could have talked for or spoken 30 minutes to an hour on each of those questions. So of course, we only have a little bit of time together right now. And so what I'm going to do at the end is leave some time. So if there's a burning question that you haven't had a chance to, haven't kind of felt like you got that was answered, I'm going to try and answer that. For many of you, you're joining from Ramit Sethi's Brain Trust, and he often says, even if there's something that I share or say that's not exactly applicable to you, you can, of course, learn the principle and apply it to your situation. So I'm going to switch over to share my screen with you now, and enjoy, have fun. Talk to you, let's see you on the other side. So we're going to share my slides here with you guys. And give me a second. All right, so share screen. We're going to presentation mode. And let's see here. All right. Can everybody see, if you can see, just let me know in the chat if you can see the presentation and you can hear loud and clear. Let me know in the comments if you're having any struggles. We should be now live presenting the screen. And the first screen here we have Work from Anywhere Live Webinar AMA presented by myself. I hope you guys can see it. I did, Jesse, who volunteered to be doing tech support here, he and I tested out last night, getting all the bugs because I've never done this before. And we discovered that Google Hangouts has about a 20-second delay. So basically, I'm living in the future right now. Not only am I living in the future on this webinar, but I am in South Africa, so it's 5 p.m. over here. If there's anybody joining us, brave souls joining us from over in Melbourne or in Australia, Asia. I know Dominic mentioned, emailed me earlier. He said, sorry, it's going to be 1 a.m. I said, sorry, I really tried to have a time that was useful to everybody. So awesome, cool, glad you can all see me, and we'll get started. Okay, thanks again for joining. I'm super grateful for your questions, super grateful for your participation. And as I said, I could literally have probably hosted a hangout on just one of these topics. And also something I want to warn you guys of, for those of you who know me, when I get excited, I tend to talk really fast, and I tend to have a little bit of an accent, even though in South Africa people think I have an American accent now. So if I talk too quickly, too fast, or if if there's any problem with the sound, that Jesse know, or let me know in the chat, and I will try to talk a little bit softer, a little bit slower. Okay, so to give you guys a little bit of a background on myself, for those of you who don't know, actually first what I want to do is I want to ask you your why. So many of you have probably heard of the Simon Sinek TED Talk, Start With Why, and I believe that's really important, especially in this context of working from anywhere. Because if you don't understand and know that, then it's really difficult for you to be able to make decisions and for you to be able to have the direction that you need to go. So I just want you to take a quick 30 seconds. Sound is breaking up. Okay, give me a second. No improvement on sound so far. Okay, let me take a pause and see if we can. How about now, guys? Can you hear the sound better? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, give me a second, let me type here. Is that better, guys? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and screen share again and hope that this doesn't become a problem. If it does, I may need to hop off on a different line. I pay for a couple internet lines, so when this does have a problem. So if that does start to be a problem, I will have to switch internet lines, jump off and jump back on. So I'm going to screen share again. I really hope this doesn't happen, but please do let me know. Hashtag third world problems. The other third world problem that we have sometimes is that we have power outages and internet outages, so let's hope all this stays fine. So let's try this again. We're going to screen share again and hope that this stays easy. So let's try this again. All right, so we're now sharing screen. Let me know in the chat if you find the sound is degrading again. Hello, hello. How are things now? Can you guys hear me? You should be seeing the screen about why. Can you hear the sound okay? Testing, testing. Is the quality good? Let me know. I should have prepared a joke. Anybody like Brian Regan? I really like his jokes. I tend to improv. Are we good to go? I'm going to keep talking, and hopefully all is well. So did you guys hear the question about figuring out your why? So I really want you to just take a quick 30 seconds and why do you want to travel? For many of you, it's going to be something in relation to freedom, I believe. So wanting to have the freedom for yourself to make decisions and choices about where you live, where you're working, how you're spending your time. One of my favorite reasons is so that, when I live in Thailand, it's not that I'm, sitting with my laptop at the beach. This is not what I mean. I'm not sitting at the beach with my laptop. First of all, because you can't see the screen, okay, the sun glaring. Secondly, I don't want to take my most valuable business possession to a place that can get damaged with light or heat or water or sand or stolen. So, and thirdly, I don't do it because when I go to the beach, I really want to go to the beach. I want to tan, I want to read, I want to swim, I want to go on a boat, I want to get a surf lesson. So this is not what I mean. If you want to do that, that's fine. If I have done this kind of in relation to, I've taken my laptop to a beachside restaurant or a beachside Hawaii. I'd go and do some work at some of the cafes, but this is not what I mean. So if this is what you're dreaming of, good luck to you. Maybe you can invent the next laptop that's waterproof, theft proof, and you can read in direct sunlight. So a little bit about my background, as I mentioned. I always dreamed about travel. I always dreamed about it. I grew up in South Africa, though, so it was always felt like these, childlike dreams. I used to lie in bed and I actually put glow-in-the-dark stars on my ceiling and used to think about them. I used to watch American television, so I used to think about all these cities like New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco and Paris, and I'd think of Paris and London, but I had like zero money. I was the oldest of 4 kids. My parents didn't have a lot of money, and I barely had jobs in college. I just worked really hard in school. So I used to dream about these things, and I knew I wanted to travel for freedom, but also to experience and explore. And I would say probably for many of you, it's also with regards to you want to explore. You're curious about the world. You want to meet different cultures. You want to experience different things. And so if you're clear about that, then you also need to be clear and we'll touch on this at the end, because I find a lot of people in this space tend to gloss over, the challenges and the hard things that goes on in this type of lifestyle, I guess. They're always posting pictures on Instagram of their feet in the sand and this next awesome pad thai they're having, or picture out the window of the airplane, but then it's like, I've been on a plane for 48 hours and I haven't slept in days, and I just had food poisoning in Bali. So I'm very realistic about the pros and cons, and so at the end we're going to talk a little bit about balancing the sacrifices and the opportunities. But what I want to do most today, of course, share the exciting stuff. I want to also help you to avoid some of the pains that I've experienced in figuring this stuff out over the last 12 years. So I just turned 30 this year, and my first international trip was 12 years ago. I was 18 years old, and I flew to Europe and then the United States. And so there's quite a few things I wish I knew earlier, and I'm going to share some of those today. And so you guys are lucky to learn from some of this experience, and I'm happy to share. For those of you again that know me, I'm really happy to share. So yes, as you can see, some of these Instagram pictures, there's some good stuff happening here, but we're going to talk about some of the things I wish I learned earlier. So first of all, what I wish I knew earlier. So I think one important thing to say at this point, and this didn't really impact me as much as I know it impacts many of you listening today. So I was very naive, and at the beginning, right? You're 18, you think you can rule the world, and just like you're very naive as to the things that can go wrong in life and in doing things like that, scary things like that. So I think for many people, and I just want to say this, is that many of you are probably not living this lifestyle yet because you're scared of the unknown. And so that's why probably some of you, this might be the reason why you're on a call today. You really want to do this, but there's some reasons holding you back. And first of all, I want to talk about stuff. So I say, to really manage or to really create this kind of lifestyle, the Work From Anywhere lifestyle, you need to master a few things. You need to master your mindset. You need to master your mobility, and tied into that would be minimalism, and then lastly money, and we'll touch on all of those today. But first of all, let's talk about stuff. So when I arrived in the United States when I was 18 to go to college, I had 2 suitcases and a backpack. And over the course of many years of living there and going to school, and 8 years later, it was 9 years later, 8 years later, I had an apartment full of crap. Now, yes, you need pots and pans and these things to live, but many of them I'd been given or gotten at Goodwill. But still, that stuff, what happened was, and I'll explain later kind of the process of moving from an employee later after college and then into location independence. This stuff is going to hold you back. So whether it's you know, at that point, I finally, after 8 years, had gotten a car. So there was a car that I needed to deal with. There was physical stuff like furniture, all of these extra clothes, like books. I had a massive floor-to-ceiling bookshelf just with books. And I love books. I love books that I can touch. But if this is really important for you, and that's why I asked you to figure out like your why, and also how important is this to you, this lifestyle? Because if it is, you're going to need to start looking at the things that you have in a different way, right? So a floor-to-ceiling bookshelf is beautiful, but it doesn't really lend itself well to somebody who wants to be mobile and moving from place to place, whether that's city to city or state to state or country to country. And if you have a lot of stuff, you're going to have to pay for storage. Even barring that, like the moving and packing and boxing is one of the most, for me, I get very attached. I'm like all about memories. So I literally was going through stuff that I had and taking pictures of like old birthday cards, and I needed to just learn to let go a lot earlier. So I wish I learned this earlier. I wish I learned to let go of these things that kept all these memories and things, and to live a more minimalistic lifestyle. So it's very difficult. I mean, now I'm back in South Africa. I've been here. This is like the longest I've stayed in a place for like 12 years. I've literally it's been about a year now that I've been in the same place. I haven't traveled or been living internationally for the past year. And so there are some pros and cons of that. But one of those is that when you live in a place for a while, you're going to just start naturally gathering more things. So just remember that. Keep that top of mind. Then I would also say, like, don't plan so much, okay? That's the other thing I wish I had have learned. So in the beginning, you know, I remember my trip to Europe, I literally planned out almost like every day I was going to be this city, then I was going to be in that city, then I was going to take a train from England to Paris, and I planned out pretty much start to finish that 10-week trip. And I kind of had to in some ways because of the visa rules with regards to South Africans in Europe. But as I like ended up exploring more in Asia and other places, they're not as stringent. And so I found myself, this was last year actually, in Australia. And I got a little bit nervous because I was like, oh, I'm going to be going to Singapore and Malaysia. I've never been there. I'm going to go to Indonesia. And so I remember thinking like, okay, but I've never been there, and should I plan? And then I just was like, stop. Okay. Jacqueline, you need to trust yourself. You have been, forget even travel, in many situations before that you had no clue what to do. You've been in these situations and you've taken care of yourself. And so I want you to just think for a moment, like, what's a really tricky situation that you've been in, a really hard situation you've been in, and even though beforehand you didn't know how to resolve it or answer it, that you figured it out, okay? So think about that for a moment. And then I want you to realize that, yes, it's important to plan to some degree, right? I've seen people just show up at places unplanned and they can't even answer, you know, the questions at customs. So they'll be like, what are you doing here? Where are you staying? And they're like, oh, you know, I don't know. And that's not very, a very good idea if you're going to show up to customs and why are you coming to our country? I don't really know. And what documents do you have? No, I have nothing. So you don't want to be stupid as well. I have an experience, a friend shared a story with me where she arrived in Korea and got to her hotel and then decided she wanted to go and explore the city. And this part of Korea, I guess, they didn't speak as much English. And now, hours later, she realizes, oh, crap. She had no idea where she was. She had no idea what her hotel, she forgot her hotel's name. She had no contact information. And any cab driver that stopped couldn't, like, understand her because she only spoke English. So my, like, rule, right, is that, like, I'm going to get to the hotel. I'm going to get them to give me a card with an address, with a phone number, and I put one in my wallet and one in my bag, and I look around, look for some like landmarks, or because you're going to get lost. You've never been to this place before. But then walk around a little bit within reason. I mean, if you're in a city where there's no English speakers, this is a little bit, you need to be more on top of things yourself. But at the end of the day, like, you have the address, you have the phone number, and for the most part, cab drivers are going to be pretty on top of it. I have another story about doing this in Singapore, though. I was less planned than normal, and I guess the place I was going to be staying wasn't as well known, and so for a while I had to get 3 different cabs before somebody was able to to help me. I was gonna have to do 3 times before somebody knew actually where to take me. But after the one guy couldn't find it, I said, look, you picked me up, I told you the address, and you said you could take me there, and now you've driven me around for like 10 minutes, and you didn't get me there, so I'm not paying you. And I mean, maybe that's like really crazy, but he just like, okay, and I got out and he drove away. So I share the story because even though it's like was a little bit scary, I guess, in the moment, and there was some uncertainty in the moment, I figured it out, right? I worked it out. I didn't end up in a ditch or have some big problem. And so again, what I wish I knew earlier, don't plan as much because then that'll allow you a little bit more freedom, but also don't be stupid, okay? So I see some of you have been mentioning in the comments, let's have a look here. Some of you mentioned about the solo travel. So I do just want to, hello, sound's breaking up again. Okay, let me pause, stop sharing here, and see if that helps. We'll go back on in a second. Sorry guys, let's see if this helps. I just turned off the screen share for a second. Okay, is that getting better again? I should have probably started this on my other Wi-Fi connection, although I'm worried that if I drop off this Wi-Fi connection that I'm going to struggle to get back on. So, okay, so here we go. I'm going to share again. And I'm just hoping that, I'm fairly certain that that the replay is going to be perfect. So if there's a few parts that you miss here and there, we will hopefully make up for it in the replay. So moving along. Is everyone hearing again? Apologies. Let me just be quiet for a second. Okay, let me know in the chat if you're still struggling to hear the sound. It's a bit of a 20-second delay, so I have to be patient to hear your answers. Testing, testing. Thanks, guys, for your patience. It's all good experience. Okay. I'm going to try something. I might be gone for 2 minutes. I'm just worried I'm not going to be able to get back on. That's the only problem. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off for a little bit, and I'm just gonna speak to it, and then if we may just have to keep the slides off, and I'll share them later. So if it's the slides that are causing this, then that's gonna make me have to keep them off. Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me okay now? It's terrible. Oh dear, it sounds like you're in the ocean. I am across the ocean. It's not terrible, it's still bad. Breaking up sound, it's still bad. Okay. Give me 2. Give me 1, give me 5. I'll just test something out here. Hashtag third world problems. I'm going to try something and I really hope it doesn't kick me off. So if you give me 2 minutes and hopefully you can come back.